Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. As we continue the topic of Sifatul Furu, today inshallah we will learn about Al-Hams and Al-Jahr. The literal meaning of Al-Hams is the whisper. In Tajweed rules, Hams is fully running of our breath while saying these letters. فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. This is how you can remember the phrase, and individual letters are letter fa, ha, tha, ha, sheen, kha, sad, sin, kaf, and ta. So what happens is you run your breath fully while reciting these letters, and you can feel the running of the breath by putting your hand in front of your mouth and by giving these letters a sukoon and adding a hamza with the fatha before it. I wrote some examples here, and you will feel the running of the breath while saying these letters. Af, ah, ash. And exactly like this, you can try rest of the letters as well, and you can feel that while saying these letters, your breath is running. We can try all of these letters this way. Af, ah, af, ash, ah, as, ak, at. So these are the letters of Hams. And while reciting فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ, you run your breath fully. While I was reciting these letters, you must have noticed that while saying letter kaf and letter ta, it was more like a shot of breath, like this, ak, at, and I'll repeat it, ak, at. While in rest of the letters, your breath runs for a longer period of time. For example, letter sheen, ash, letter tha, ath. This is because there is another characteristic which is a permanent characteristic of letter kaf and ta, that is called shidda. Due to the sifa of shidda, they have the least air coming with them. So the timing of the running of the breath for these two letters is different than rest of the letters. That means we can say the amount of air that comes with these letters, it varies between one letter to another letter depending on the other characteristics that they carry. Let's try it again. Af, ah, ath, ash, as, ak, at. So Hams is fully running of our breath while saying these letters. فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. And opposite to Al-Hams is Al-Jahr. And the literal meaning of Al-Jahr is the apparent. While in Tajweed rules, Al-Jahr is completely blocking or imprisoning the running of the breath for all the remaining letters of Arabic language other than فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. And I wrote some of the examples here, and you can try with the same way by putting your hand in front of your mouth, by giving the letter a sukoon and adding a hamza with the fatha before it. And we can try them like this, ab, and try them without qalqala, because that's another characteristic. So without applying the rule of qalqala, try to say ab, ad, al. And this way, when we are trying them, we don't feel that the breath is running with these letters. If you feel a little bit of breath, that's just the natural process of breathing, but there is no running of the breath with the letters other than فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. So all the letters other than فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ, you recite those letters without fully running your breath. And if we try to recite the letters of Jahr by running our breath, and if those letters are coming from the same makhraj, there is a high chance that we change the letter. Let's take an example of letter kha and letter ghain. Letter ghain is a letter of Jahr, while letter kha is a letter of Hams. So I have to run my breath with letter kha, and I should imprison the running of the breath with letter ghain. Since they are coming from the same makhraj, from the top of the throat, if I add running of the breath with letter ghain, it will sound more like letter kha or something in the middle, but not a pure ghain. Let's take an example here. The word is al-maghdubi. But if I try to run my breath with letter ghain, it will sound something like this. Al-maghdubi. So instead of saying letter ghain, it sounds more like letter kha. And this is what I have to avoid. Another example could be letter sin and letter za. Letter sin is a letter of hams, while letter za is a letter of jahr. Both of them are coming from the same makhraj. And if I want to recite the word anzalna, you can hear that there is letter za after letter noon. And as we know, it is a letter of jahr. So I need to imprison the running of the breath with this letter. But if I add hums with this letter, it will sound something like this. Ansalna. And this is wrong. So we need to avoid hums with letter za because it is a letter of jahr. And we can take another example when we say Allahu Akbar. So letter kaf is a letter of hums. Instead of saying Allahu Akbar, I should be saying Allahu Akbar. Akbar instead of Akbar. Because letter kaf is a letter of hums, I should not be blocking the running of the breath with this letter. Another example with letter ta could be qatla instead of saying qatla, because letter ta is a letter of hums. Another common example could be basmala. Letter ba is a letter of jahr, and if we try to run our breath with letter ba, it will sound something like this. Bismillah. And this is what we need to avoid because letter ba is a letter of jahr. We completely block the running of the breath with letters of jahr. So the characteristic of hums and jahr is related to the running of our breath with the letters. In case of hums, there is fully running of our breath while reciting letters فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ. And other than these 10 letters, rest of the Arabic letters are all jahr letters. There is a complete imprisonment of the flowing of the breath while pronouncing rest of the Arabic letters. I hope hams and jahr are clear to you. We will continue with the topic of Sifatul Huruf, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.